Nestle Group was founded by a great German-born pharmacy Henry Nestle and was incorporated as a company in 1966. It started with infant food for their product and merged with Angelo Swiss condensed milk company in the United States. Nestle Group has aimed to be a leader for delivering its product worldwide to every consumer with the mission Good Food, Good Life. It's believed every Nestle product are the best tasting with high nutrients and a wide range of food and drink category. Nestle has more than 2,000 brands worldwide and delivered their product to 186 countries. It was listed in Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad on 30 December 1899 in the main market as public limited company. Nestle becomes one of the trusted brands among Malaysians with a halal food concept. Nestle products such as Milo, Maggi, and many more. In this video, we will present Nestle Berhad's performance between two continuous years 2001 and 2022. Last but not least, team members will give recommendation based on their findings.
My name is Nelini Evanisa Nawari and I will talking about liquidity ratio. Liquidity ratio assessment is carried out on the basis of a study of a company's ability to pay off its short-term obligations without raising external capital. So this ratio measures the company's short-term status and is largely based on capability of paying debt or by the company and payable only within 1 year. Therefore, a higher number for this ratio are more desirable as they represent a firm's ability to meet its short-term obligation more easily and also effectively. There are three types of liquidity ratio. The first one is current ratio, which it measures the company's ability to meet its short-term obligation using only its current asset. So Nestle Berhad has higher current ratio in 2022 rather than in 2021, which it indicates a stronger liquidity position. So this means in 2022, Nestle Berhad has more current asset available to cover its short-term liabilities. The second one is quick ratio. It assesses the company's ability to meet its short-term obligations without rely on other current assets. So in 2022, it indicates a more liquid position compared to in 2021. So this means in 2022, Nestle Berhad have a stronger ability to meet short-term liabilities without them relying on other current assets. So the last one is quick ratio. It measures the company ability to meet its short-term obligation using its current asset but exclude inventory from current asset. Nestle Berhad has a higher quick ratio in 2021 rather than in 2022, which indicates company in 2021 has higher ability to meet its short-term obligation using its current asset but exclude inventory from current asset.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Nurani binti alias. I will present efficiency ratio. First, inventory turnover. In 2022, Nestle Berhad inventory turnover is 5.07 times, which that year earned high profit compared in 2021 at only 4.13 times. This means in 2022, Nestle Berhad managed to sell items more quickly and result in higher operational profit, also with higher net income. Second, average collection period. The average collection period in 2021 and 2022 are same with 24 days. This shows that businesses are collecting money, no change occurred. A long collection period may indicate that clients are taking their time paying their invoice. Third, for total asset turnover, Nestle Berhad has a total asset turnover of 1.88 times in 2021, lower compared to 2022, which is 1.92 times. This means in 2022, Nestle Berhad managed to generate revenue from its asset to create the sales. This is because the greater a company's asset turnover ratio, the more efficient it is in generating revenue from its asset. Fourth, receivable turnover. Nestle Berhad net receivable turnover in 2021 is lower than 2022, which are 14.69 times and 14.84 times respectively. This indicates that 2022 Nestle Berhad very cautious when it comes to granting credit to consumers, and it may also indicate that the company's clients are of high quality, while in 2021 may indicate that a corporation inadequately managed and spent too much money on operation. Last, fixed asset turnover. Nestle Berhad fixed asset turnover is lower compared to 2021, which are 3.29 times and also 3.59 times correspondingly. In 2021, it indicates that sales are low, while in 2022, ideal fixed asset turnover ratio is typically good. If the fixed asset turnover ratio is high, the business is likely running at capacity and need to either grow its asset base or reduce its fixed asset turnover ratio.
Leverage ratio. There is a three subdivision, which is a debt ratio, debt to equity ratio, times interest earned ratio. Debt ratio is a ratio that indicates the proportion between company's debt and its total asset. The formula of debt ratio is total debts divided by total asset. By 2021, after calculates, 2021 is 80.48%, and using the same formula 2020 is 82.38%. The debt ratio of Nestle Malaysia Berhad for the year 2022 is 82.38%, was higher than 80.48% for 2021. Therefore, it can indicate that the performance for the 2021 is better than 2022. It has more debt than asset. In this case, by interpret these 2 years, it can be indicate Nestle Berhad debt ratio (DR) is considered as a medium risk. Next, we move on to the next, which is debt equity ratio. This ratio helps us to know the proportion of equity and debt to finance the total asset. A higher debt to equity means that the business is being financed by loans or creditor, whereas a low debt to equity means that the business is financed by the total equity. Using the formula given, total debts divides by the total equity. On 2021, we can see that the result is 412.24% and 2022 is 467.45%. Debt to equity ratio of Nestle Berhad in 2021 is lower than year 2022. A higher debt to equity ratio for the year 2022 shows that the company has higher risk to its shareholders, which are the company that really on debt for its growth than year 2021. In this case, it means that the lower are better. But each industry has a different debt to equity ratio benchmarking, as some industry will prefer to use debt financing. In the last part of leverage ratio is time interest earned ratio (TIE). The formula given is TIE is earning before interest and tax EBIT divided by interest expense. Time interest earned ratio or interest coverage ratio tell us the ability of the business to pay its interest and how many the company could cover its interest expense. In 2021, the firm has ability about 21.97 times to meet interest payment. Meanwhile, the firm has ability only 20.10 times to meet its interest payment for the year 2022. Therefore, the higher number of times in 2021 indicates the better firm ability than 2022 in times interest earned ratio (TIE).
Salam sejahtera to our lecturer, Madam Fariha binti Hasan. My name is Solomon Emilio and I'm going to present about the profitability ratio. The first element of profitability ratio is gross profit margin. The formula for gross profit margin is gross profit over sales times 100%. And the total gross profit margin for Nestle for the year 2021 is 34.15% and 2022 is 30.92%. So here it shows that Nestle's efficiency in managing the operation has decreased in 2022 compared to 2021 because the percentage has been reduced, and this shows that they did not manage to control the cost of goods effectively. The next element is operating profit margin. So the formula for operating profit margin is operating profits over sales times 100. And in Nestle's case, in 2021, they have a operating profit margin of 13.71%. And in 2022, they have an operating margin percent of 13.55%. So this shows that there is lower percentage in 2022 compared to 2021, and Nestle failed to improve in managing their operating cost. The next element is operating profit margin. So the formula for operating profit margin is operating profits over sales times 100. And in Nestle's case, in 2021, they have a operating profit margin of 13.71%, and in 2022, they have an operating margin percent of 13.55%. So this shows that there is lower percentage in 2022 compared to 2021, and Nestle failed to improve in managing their operating cost. The next element is return on assets. And the formula for return on assets is net income over total assets times 100. And in 2021, Nestle has a return on assets of 19.09%. And in 2022, they have a return on assets of 17.45%. This shows that there is a decrease of the overall return of assets from their investments. So this shows that Nestle is not able to maximize their assets to make profit. The next element is return on assets, and the formula for return on assets is net income over total assets times 100. And in 2021, Nestle has a return on assets of 19.09%, and in 2022 they have a return on assets of 17.45%. This shows that there is a decrease of the overall return of assets from their investments. So this shows that Nestle is not able to maximize their assets to make profit.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Hayati binti Hassan, and I will present about market ratio. The first one is earning per share, EPS. How to get earning per share? First, the net income divided with the number of shares. We will get RM2.41 for 2021 and RM2.60 for 2022. As we can see here, the profitability of the Nestle Berhad per share is higher in 2022 compared to 2021. It is mean that high DPS indicates that Nestle Berhad performed well during the earnings period and that investors are willing to pay higher price for its shares. The fact that Nestle Berhad earning is increased marginally demonstrate that the company's profitability is good, as Nestle Berhad is able to generate a healthy profit for each share of its stock. Next, for the dividend per share, how we find the DPS? the ordinary dividends divided by the number of ordinary shares, we will get the dividend for Nestle Berhad in 2022 is RM2.42, while in 2021 we get RM2.32. It shows that the cash distributed to the shareholder per share is higher in 2022. Increasing in DPS is a great method for Nestle Berhad to signal to its shareholder is a strong performance of the company itself. In other terms, dividend represent profits paid to the shareholder by the company. When the dividend increase, it occurs as a consequence of improved in cash flows. It is typically a positive indicator of the performance of the company. Dividend increase shareholder total returns by providing a regular source of income in addition to the money shareholders could make if the value of shares is increased. Next, for dividend payout ratio, DPR. How we get dividend payout ratio? We get it from dividend per share divided by earning per share. So, as we can see here, in 2022, Nestle Berhad dividend payout ratio is 0.9308 and 0.9627 in 2021. Increasing dividend payout ratio indicates that limited development opportunities for Nestle Berhad. It shows low dividend payout ratio indicate that a growth-oriented company that reinvests more earnings into the business. In other words, the dividends indicates the proportion of Nestle Berhad income that is distributed to investors is decreasing. The fact that Nestle Berhad DPR for years 2021 and 2022 decreased somewhat demonstrate that the company dividend sustainability and financial health is not well. Next, we move on to the price or earning ratio. How we get price or earning ratio? The formula is market price per share MPS divided by earning per share EPS. So as we can see, the price or earning ratio of Nestle Berhad stock related to its earning is 150.41 in 2022 and 139.40 in 2021. The rise in incidence rate show that the price or earning ratio in 2021 is lower than 2022. The higher in earning ratio is better for the company and potential investor. In other words, low price or earning ratio indicate that the stock price does not accurately reflect the company earning base value. A stock with high price or earning ratio is expensive and its price may decline in the future. The fact that Nestle Berhad price or earning ratio for years 2022 and 2021 slightly increased shows that the company is performing well. Next, for dividend yield, DY. How we search DY? The formula is latest dividend divided with market per share. As we can see here, in 2022, Nestle Berhad had dividend yield is 1.9%, while in 2021 is 1.8%. The increasing number of occurrence suggests that DY in 2022 higher than the one in 2021 is a good thing for the Nestle Berhad, because when the dividend increase, it shows that the improvement of the cash flow in Nestle Berhad. It is typically a positive indicator of the performance of the company. And in other words, a high dividend can be attractive because company receive more income per money invested. But this is not always the case. It could indicate that the company's stock price has been declining or that the dividend payment has increased faster than earnings. However, according to dividend yield Nestle Berhad, its increase shows that the company is performed well.
Overall, despite the company's improvement on current ratio and cash ratio, it still did poorly on its quick ratio. In decreased efficiency in the firm's ability to meet its short-term obligations without relying on its inventory, with 2021 being slightly better, Nestle should work on to improve this ratio to attract more investors and maintain operation stability. It can be argued that instead of short-term debt, the organization can focus more on long-term funding, so this will reduce the liability of the company because of the lower prepayment and interest rate available. Removal of short-term debts will result in better quick ratio.
Can improve its financial performance or efficiency ratio. Nestle Berhad results are doing well in terms of efficiency and activity ratio. This indicates that the company on average efficient in its overall management and operation. However, the company is losing efficiency in inventory management as evidenced by the decline in inventory and asset turnover from 2021 to 2022. If the company financial situation become more stable, it will be more easier for the company to attract new investors. Based on this result, Nestle Berhad will be able to increase efficiency through further improvements such as performance management. Through better performance management, company can better identify sales opportunity and improve performance outcome. Additionally, Nestle Berhad Company can implement better resource management. Nestle Berhad will improve procurement and spending related to its product and service clear analysis. That's all from me. Thank you.
On the part of recommendation to improve leverage ratio for Nestle Malaysia Berhad. In order to improve Nestle Malaysia Berhad in-debt ratio, the company should restructuring their debt compositions. It helps the company reduce its interest rates and monthly payments obligation. The company should increase its profitability for the sales that can be used to finance the debts to maximize the risk for company bankruptcy. Secondly, Nestle Berhad can lower their debt to equity ratio by improving inventory management effectively while lowering the costs. Last but not least, Nestle Berhad can improve its EBIT ratios by reducing the times. The business can increase the times interest credited and retire some of it. The amounts of interest paid out will be lower, and the time to pay the interest will rise. In another way, by reducing cost of goods sold, COGS, which is increased this ratio, the COGS can be reduced by taking discounts, buying inventories in a larger quantity also.
Now we move to how Nestle can improve their performance. So, firstly, Nestle can improve their profitability by lowering the cost of raw materials. This can be done by negotiating or finding suppliers that have a lower price in supplying the goods to Nestle. Then, another way Nestle can improve profitability is to identify the product which has higher demand. By identifying product that has higher demand, they can focus production on that product and also improve the pricing. Hence, they can improve the profitability ratio. Then, another way they can improve the net profit margin is increasing revenues. And one of the ways that they can do is improving pricing strategies. And the better the pricing, the higher the price and lower the cost, the more profit they can get. They also need to improve return on assets, and Nestle needs to utilize better the assets to generate more profits. And they need to make sure that all the assets or most of the assets are working and generating profits for the business. Finally, improving return on equity. They can improve return on equity by increasing investment in assets, and by increasing the investment in assets, it can help Nestle expand and get more sales. Thank you.
After analyze and conducting a research to the Nestle Berhad market ratio, there is some recommendation to the market ratio profit. For example, that Nestle Berhad must optimize the cost by conducting a cost analysis to find which areas or expenses that can be cut or eliminated without sacrifice product quality or operational effectiveness. In order to increase productive and save costs, Nestle Berhad can optimize resource allocation, remove the problems, and optimize the operations. Moreover, by developing a dividend policy that strikes a balance between shareholder rewards and the necessity of reinvest in the company for future expansion is a better idea for Nestle Berhad. It is because by concentrate on strategies to improve profit margins such as cost optimization, cost control, and operational improvement, Nestle Berhad can boost the profitability. On top of that, cash flow management is very crucial since it helps working capital management and ensure that there is enough cash flow to cover the dividend payments without jeopardizing liquidity or operating requirements. And next, in order to improve the profit and boost the investor confidence, Nestle Berhad must constantly review and optimize its price strategy, product mix, and cost structure in order to explain to investor the company performance and cost structure and the potential and the financial health. Nestle Berhad must also have a good relationship with the investor and plan good planning in order to show the company dedication to shareholder value and draw in dividend-seeking investor. Concentrate the next on dividend growth by progressively raise the dividends over the time. Thank you. That's all from me.
So based on the financial ratios, we can conclude that firstly, Nestle did quite well in the liquidity ratio, and it has performed better in 2022 than 2021. The computation shows Nestle's efficiency ratios between 2021 and 2022 to be stable. Then, in the leverage ratio, there is a little drop from 2021 to 2022, and it is considerably weak and need improvements. So, as we know, based on the computation, in 2022, the efficiency ratio is worse than 2021. As a result, the profitability ratio is impacted negatively, as shown that it has performed worse in 2022 than in 2021, with declining gross profit margin, lower operating profit margin, a decrease in net profit margin, and lower percentage in return on assets and equity. And in the market ratio, the earnings per share, dividends per share, earning ratio, and dividend ratio, Nestle Berhad has a favorable market ratio compared to previous year. In summary, Nestle Berhad can be considered to be underperforming in terms of overall business and financial health. Thank you.